Sponsored by LearnGD.com. Learn graphics and digital video design online.
It was like the year before my dad passed away, before my dad really got sick. No, I'm sorry. It was that summer, because my dad died, the year after. That summer. Yeah, one time my dad, Danny, out of the blues, he called me, hey, Dad, get abuelito ready. We're going to make carne asada. I'm taking the mariachis. Go, for what? Just for my grandpa, because, that's my grandpa. And then when he got his, my parents are divorced, so he went to go pick up my mom, and he brought her over. And then he got the mariachi like for 2-3 hours. And then he was still picado. Then he went to go get a conjunto norteño for about another 2 hours. Here they come, with accordion and all that, Ramon Ayala and todo that. Oh, man, my dad was happy, and I don't know if Danny stopped, because I was crying, pero de gusto, Yeah, Danny would do things like that. That was Danny. That was one of the happiest moments my dad had. Out of the blues, you know what I mean? And those are the best things, when you do something the last minute. If you plan it, it don't come out right. You do it the last minute, man, sale ATM, man, a toda madre. So, but yeah, my dad never forgot that. I'm sure he's looking down saying, and I still don't, so.
And Danny and your father were really close?
Oh, Louis, like I said, I was taking care of my dad, and Danny lived there with us too. And Danny was very close with my dad. I mean, before Danny went out every night, it's a custom for us to go to our grandmother to get la bendición. And Danny would go every day before he went out every night before he left. I didn't know this. So Danny told me after my dad passed away. And my dad le daba la bendición, and Danny would be off on his way. I mean, my dad, when he started dialysis, because, my dad estaba gordito. A couple of times he fell. I couldn't pick him up. My dad was I would call the neighbor. It wasn't for Danny being there, because, he would just lift him, and God. Yeah, no, Danny was there helping me big time when my dad was going through his dialysis, and, it's like, I know Danny took it hard when my dad died, because I would see it in Danny's eyes. He missed his grandpa. I know my mijo, you know what I mean? My dad was everything to Danny. That's why when my dad passed away, Danny went up there and spoke on the altar what a life he had with my dad. My dad made everything to Danny. You know what I mean? And my dad would always say, mijo, de todos tus hermanos, tú eres el más cabrón, pero eres el que me quieres más. You know, man? And, como dicho hecho, his actions showed it. So, but, we had good memories, Louis. Well, when my dad was bullfighting, and being a bullfighter, it's in seasons. You know what I mean? Just like baseball or basketball. Everything's done through seasons. It's not a year-round thing. And my dad was already reaching his peak where he was going to go, bullfight in Spain. And in Mexico City, in La Plaza Mexico, where it's like going to the Super Bowl, man. To do a bullfight there, it's like, oh man, you're a chingon. Okay, you made it already. And so that summer, the off season, I had an uncle and aunt that lived here in LA, with my grandma. I stayed right here on Gerhardt. The house is still there. And my dad just came, I guess to visit. And then he met my mom. Back then, he met my mom, and, my dad was getting ready to come. And she goes, you ain't going nowhere. You're staying here. I go, why? Because I'm pregnant. And that's when that came out. So, after that, my dad goes, well, that's when his career put it on hold. Why couldn't, can't have a kid and bullfight at the same time. When you have a wife, not knowing if he's going to come home after he comes home from work, because, that was, you know what I mean? So he was still involved with the bullfighting and stuff after that, but he wasn't bullfighting no more. He would do radio broadcasting and everything. I didn't know that. My dad would do the bullfighting from TJ to Mexico, on radio. Yeah, so he still had a lot of connections, but that's what, in 1958, that's when my dad hung up the towel. So, but I know Danny, Danny, knowing that his grandfather was a bullfighter, and it took a lot of courage to be a bullfighter, you know what I mean? And, you know, a lot of cojones, you know? And I guess that's where Danny gets it from, you know what I mean? You know, from his grandpa, because, you know, I mean, you know, I just played soccer, man. That's all I did. But, you know, his grandpa was a bullfighter, you know? And so I think a lot of you know, a lot of my dad is in Danny in that aspect, because Danny has a lot of courage, you know? He, you know, not that he's a bully, but he ain't afraid, you know? I mean, that's Danny, you know? So
I think about my grandfather that just passed away about 2 years ago. That's my dad's dad. He was real close with me too. And besides him, my mother's mom passed away, and I was real close to her too, because pretty much I was the firstborn grandkid. So I had good ties with my grandparents on both sides of the family. My grandfather, even though I ended up being a full-blown gang member and being the person that I ended up turning into, it never broke the respect and the relationship that I had with that man. Nothing but love. My grandmother, my mother's mom, she passed away when I was a kid, when I was about 5 or 6 years old, something like that, 7 years old. I think it was 7. Long story short, to get back to my grandfather, even though I ended up choosing that lifestyle, he still always never judged me for that. He knew that even though his other grandkids were straight A college students and straight A, you know, straight arrows and shit like that, it didn't take him, it didn't make him love me any less or stuff like that, you know? So I had a good relationship with him, and my grandfather, I remember he used to tell me, es mi nieto el más cabrón, pero eres mi nieto que me quiere más de todos. And I would tell him, hell yeah. And he would recognize that, because sometimes, I'm not trying to throw this out there so much, but sometimes if I would see my dad speaking to him wrong or shit like that, and I would see him getting mistreated because he was getting older and not able to take care of himself, it wasn't going to happen on my clock. While I'm able to witness this shit, it wasn't going to happen. Well, he took it, I mean, I'm not saying that he took it good. Yeah, he took it bad, you know. He was close to him. But, I mean, at that point, I'm not going to say I was 100% so out of it, but I was just in my own sorrows, because I knew that I was never going to see that man again. Never going to have him ask me to get him a cup of water, stuff like that. Because those were like the last things that he would tell me that I could remember to this day, right before he passed away. And we were like this. And he ended up passing away on Easter Day. And on Easter Day, earlier that morning, I was out partying. Later, that night before, I was out partying, but like around 12:30, I ended up changing, because I was in basketball shorts and like that. Well, not basketball shorts, but regular shorts. And it was getting cold out there. Long story short, I changed. My gramps, I went and I always would check on him, give him a kiss. He asked me to get on a cup of water, and if I could, I seen him kind of a little uncomfortable, so I scooted him up on the bed, helped him out, made sure I covered him and all that stuff, you know? And so that was pretty much the last time that I actually seen him. But I'm able to remember that. But I'm able to remember that he did ask me to get him water. I without him even asking, without even him asking me, I scooted him up on the bed. And I would always let him know I love you before I would always leave, no matter what. Even if he wouldn't say it, or if he was asleep, and kiss him on his forehead, you know, because my gramps would always stick with me for me growing up since I was a little kid, and the things that I would see him do, because he was a bad man. I'm not saying a bad man like an evil man, bad as in badass. He was a full-blown torero. He was a bullfighter in Mexico, and he was broke growing up with my grandmother, my abuelita Petrita. That's my great-grandmother that passed away, that I was real close to anyways, real close to too. And anyways, to get back to what I was telling you, yeah, he was a full-blown bullfighter. He was bad. He has pictures and paintings and the whole pedo. It wasn't just a hearsay, a family myth. It was a known fact. So, you know, he has photos and all that good stuff. Paintings, and he did this thing. That's what I'm able to remember from my gramps. Nothing but good things.